Hey, everybody. It's your lovely Lotus Blossom Lizzie, and I'm here today with an art journaling processing video. So if these are the type of videos that you like, please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up, and also don't forget to hit the notification button so that you'll be notified when more videos like this come out. So as you can see, the first thing I did was take out some items that I might be using, because you know as well as I do, if you are an art journaler, you never know what you're going to use. You never know that if the items that you take out are going to be, within the flow of what you have in mind. So I had in mind that I was going to try to do some techniques that I haven't tried before, that I've seen. And so the first thing I wanted to do was to really give my pages some girth. And so I actually glued two pages together, and the other side, on the left side, that page already had two pages backed together. So that's going to help, because this is from a magazine journal that I made. And so I wanted to actually make sure I can, hold up to whatever I'm putting in here. So basically, I'm kind of building a canvas, and that's part of the fun of art journaling. You can kind of build things the way that you want to. So I took out a few book pages, and they're just text pages only, because this is going to be pretty much covered up. But even if it's not, I really wasn't going to mind that text coming forward. So I just kind of haphazardly ripped things up. And then the next thing I did was I took out my gesso and I went to town. I used a lot of gesso in this. Now the gesso kind of sits on top of the magazine pages, but the text pages themselves really soak that gesso up. So I ended up using a lot of gesso, which is okay. I think I'm at the point where I'm gonna have to buy like the big tubs of gesso instead of the little bottles. I forgot that I needed to kind of reinforce the middle of this, the spine, and that's because once you start painting in there, the paint kind of flows, it gravitates towards the middle, and then the pages will start coming up. And that happened to me on the last art journal, so I wanted to make sure that it didn't happen this time. So off camera, I went ahead and I cover all the pages with the text pages and the gesso, as you can see, and I cut the excess off, and it came out wonderfully. You can't even see where I put the tape down the middle, so that's a win. I just use regular packing tape for that. So if you have just any kind of tape will do to put in the middle. You can use washi tape also, and that's going to protect your pages. So the next thing I did was I took out some watercolors. I had some tubes of watercolors that I hadn't really been using, and they're just some cheapo, depot watercolors. And so, if I had like some really good watercolors, I probably wouldn't had to have used as much as I did, but I still didn't use a lot. And as you can see, I'm keeping these pages really, really wet for a reason, and you'll see why in a moment. Now I put the color on both sides. I used like kind of a medium green color, and I just spread that green all over it. You can also see, because I was putting the water down, I had lots of bubbles, but the bubbles went away, so that wasn't a problem. But actually, for this particular layout, the bubbles would have been perfect even if they stayed. So next I put some blue on top of the green, and at first my intention was to cover the whole page over with the blue over the top of the green. And I looked at my little color wheel, and I knew that it was going to give me kind of a sea green kind of look. But once I started spreading things out, I kind of liked the way it looked with its imperfectness, because if you've been watching me, I love the imperfectness of this, and it worked out well. So now I'm using some alcohol, and I think I used this technique one time before, but I used it on acrylic. So this is the first time I used it on watercolors, and it works so good. Now I will say, when you are using alcohol for this technique, you need to be using the highest grade alcohol that you can fine. So this was 91% alcohol. And as you can see, the cells were beautiful. So if you wanted smaller cells, you would want to use just, just little splats of it, but I kind of splattered it all over the place. And you want to make sure that your pages are very, very wet. So that's why I kept the pages nice and wet as I was painting. So I hope that explains that I didn't have to go too fast on this. So the next thing I'm doing is I'm kind of practicing. Now this is something I hadn't thought about before I started. And I wanted to kind of add some vegetation to my seascape. So I decided to do a little practicing before I actually put it on the page, because once it's on the page, it's on the page, and there's always that fear of getting started to begin with. So this is something that you can do if you're kind of afraid to mess your pages up, even though you can't make a mess. Now I was going to use this card to put down my brown parts of my vegetation, but I had so much texture on this page, and maybe you can see it on the screen, but the card just didn't work, so I had to pull out the brush. So I took out my brush, and that worked just perfectly because it actually gave I don't know what these brown things are that I'm making, but it gave it a flowiness that you might see underwater, because this is an underwater seascape that I'm making, right? So they're not necessarily like, branches or anything like that goes to a tree, just something that I made up in my head. Now the green part is supposed to be like seaweed. And I could have put some of the seaweed at the top too. I might go back and do that later. I could have put a little seaweed at the top, but I just put it at the bottom. And I just used an angled brush to do this. So I bought this angled brush. If you watched my haul, you can go back and watch that. You can see some of the items that I bought, because I was trying to expand some of the things that I have as far as my art supplies go. And these brushes were a part of that. Now the paints are just Cheapo Depot paints. I got them at Five Below, so it was a pack for $5. So you can't beat that, and they're perfect for what I'm doing. And maybe one day I'll get some better watercolor paints, but these are good. These worked out fine. So on the left page, I really was able to put things down a lot quicker because I kind of practiced on the right side. And so I just really, squiggled down my little reeds and seaweed, and I love the effect that came out. And one reason why I love it, because the cells that I made with the alcohol really still kind of came out. They still kind of came out because, underwater they look really translucent. So I felt like I really accomplished that look of translucency when it came to doing this. So now I took out some of my actual stamps, and these stamps are from Inky Dinky Doo, except for the little red one. The little red fishy I made myself out of fun foam. So I've been making stamps like crazy out of fun foam, so maybe I'll do a video on that one too. But let's stick to this one right now. So I'm just going to stamp down. We have a seashell, and something's living in that seashell. I don't know what it is. And then we have the seahorse, and then I have some sea turtles, and then of course some fishies. So I made sure that they're down there, they're living in the seascape down there in the bottom where the reeds and stuff are, because that's what animals like to hide in there. So, and then I made some that are kind of peeking their heads out. And of course the fish, they don't care about hiding. They like to be out in the open. And so I wanted to make kind of a school of fish as well. So you'll see me kind of use this one over and over again, and I kind of go off the side of the page, so it looks like there's a fish coming on the page. Now this is the one that I made, and I hadn't tested it yet, so I want to test and see how it looked. And looks like a big old angry piranha fish, and piranha fish is going on here somewhere. Now when I made this, I didn't think about the direction. I was hoping it was going to be in the other direction, I was going to use him on the other side of the page, but it didn't work out that way. But when I'm making my next fishy, I'll keep that in mind about the direction of the fish. So now I'm just putting on a few more seahorses because I think that other side needed just a little bit more. And I also thought about, painting the fish and everything in, but maybe that's something that I'll go back and do later. Maybe. I don't know. Once you get finished with a page, you kind of just move on. So I took out my paint pens and I got my large paint pen out, and I commenced to writing down my saying that I kind of thought up off the cuff. And as you can see, it kind of got convoluted by all the bubbles and all the wonderfulness that's on this page. So I decided to take out my black paint pen, shake, because you got to shake these pens up before you use them. And then I also kind of tested it out on some paper just to make sure it worked. And I decided to make sure that the white ink was dry, or white paint was dry, so that it wouldn't contaminate the black one. And I just wrote right over the white part, and it actually came out good because it kind of gave the writing a shadow, had like a white shadow. Now, my writing's not that great, but you know what? For this job, it was okay. I was okay with my writing. So it says, art brings people together. Yay. And hopefully I spelled everything right, because, I have a public school education and sometimes, things don't work out. So now I'm just going around the sides, and I always like to kind of frame my artwork because, I'm an artist now, y'all. I'm feeling very artsy. And I think the stamps helped me to be an artist because, I hand painted all those little fishies and stuff. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it anyway. Don't y'all tell anybody how I did that. So I am just going to put that away. And that was actually like chalk edgers, which I will never buy again because they're terrible. They go on good, but the little pad comes loose from the applicator, and it's just not worth the money. So now I wanted to give the little fishy some bubbles because, if you're under the water and you're breathing, the bubbles are going to go to the top. So all the little animals, the turtles, the seahorses, everything gets some bubbles except for the snail, because I don't know about the snail. I don't think the snail creates bubbles, but I think everything else would create some bubbles in real life. So I gave everything some nice bubbles. So that is pretty much it there. This came out almost like just the way that I thought that it would. And that almost never happens, especially with the reeds and the whole vegetation at the bottom. I wasn't expecting that to come out, and I kind of did that on the fly, so I was happy about that. So if you enjoyed this video, and I know you did, give this video a thumbs up, and also make sure you hit the notification button so that you'll be notified when more videos like this one come out. And I would love to hear, what is your favorite part of this whole seascape? Make sure you leave a comment below. And thanks everybody for coming on. And with that, I want to say love, peace, and hair grease from your sweet lotus blossom and lovable Lizzie. Have a fantabulous day and enjoy life.